Hi, and welcome to Life Lessons from the Reading School District. I'm Kristin Boyd, Director of Community Engagement. Today is our second podcast videocast, and we're so excited to have one of our long-time district staff members, Mr. Hoodak, who is the principal at Lauer Park Elementary. Mr. Hoodak, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Well, hi, and I hope there are some folks watching today, and I thank you for allowing me to be here.
Absolutely. I said we would always start with the same question that we start with, which is, what life lesson would you want people to learn from your story?
You know, when you mentioned that to me, I gave it some thought. And those people who have visited me at Lauer Park, and when you come into my office, there's a plaque outside my door. And the plaque is, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. And I think that's what I've learned in life. Mm-hmm. You know, all of us can have excuses that we can't do things. We can maybe have had experiences that make us feel that we can't be successful. And I've learned from the time I was a student to the time I was a young adult, and now that I'm an older adult, that you can do anything you want to do. Mm-hmm. And you can accomplish anything you want to accomplish. It's a matter of you believing in yourself and also having other people believe in you. Mm-hmm. You know, just as we push the kids and hopefully they believe we believe in them, to this day, and I'm an old guy, there are people in this community that have helped me so much. Mm-hmm. And so I make sure that I don't disappoint them, mm-hmm. because they believe I do things that are right for kids, and they trust me and depend on me. And because they depend on me and they support me, I don't want to disappoint them. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that it never stops happening. And I think that's what our kids need. They need to believe, and they need someone behind them. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
To more than just push them, that set those expectations and you know, kind of guide them along the way.
In your childhood, who was that person or those people for you who really believed in you and set those expectations?
Well, I can go back when I was a teacher, mm-hmm. or I'm sorry, when I was a student. And probably the first person, his name was John Shellman, and he was my 10th grade social studies teacher. Mm-hmm. And he was the first teacher that believed in me. Mm-hmm. Up until then, I didn't have a very successful school career. I was a very poor student. And it was because of him that I kind of learned that I could learn, mm-hmm. and that I could be successful in a school environment. You know, then when I went to college, he was one of my professors, and I went to Penn State. Okay. And Gene Whetstone, and he was a famous gymnastics coach at Penn State. They won national championships. He was an Olympian coach, and when I went to Penn State, and I went in as a physical education teacher to study to be one, and I had white hair. I was a blonde. And now my hair is white from being gray and old. Yeah. And Gene, the first thing he ever said to me is, he called me Whitey. He said, "Whitey, what are you doing in physical education?" Mm-hmm. And he encouraged me to get out of it because I was so bad. Really? And that motivated me so much, because I always like the underdog. Mm-hmm. When somebody tells me I can't do something, and Gene was my gymnastics coach at Penn State and at the time, and pushed me. And I remember by my junior year, I became his graduate assistant, and because I became good at what he wanted me to be good in, and I became his assistant to help him in the methods courses for other phys ed teachers. So that made me feel really, really good. I got to the Reading School District as a teacher. A couple people, Vince O'Bara. Mm-hmm. Vince was like my
very
mentor.
Well-known name. Yeah.
I have the greatest respect for Vince O'Bara, who retired as head of our phys ed department in the city. Kitty Kaufman, mm-hmm. was in the district. They hired me, and they also saved my job because I was a hot dog.
Oh, really?
And I wasn't always a model teacher.
I think people would be surprised to hear that.
And they went to bat for me more than once with administration to keep me in my job. Mm-hmm. you know, then as I went through school in the Reading district and then had my job, you know, there are people in the community, Tom McMahon, the ex-mayor, Al Bosco. I mean, I admire him a great deal because he treats everybody with respect, and no matter who you are. Mr. and Mrs. Holleran.
Absolutely.
You know, they're just the kindest people to everyone. You know, I also, you know, probably some of my former superintendents, Jim Goodhart.
Oh, absolutely.
And Melissa Jamula, two of my favorite people, and really taught me a lot. You know, there are times they scolded me and
Which
slowed
is
me.
needed sometimes.
I absolutely still need it.
Yeah.
But they were always there and would always show support, and that they believed in you, and they valued what you were doing and what you were about. So I've had so many folks.
May I ask why, if kind of coming from that high school experience where you felt like you were a poor student, what made you then want to be a teacher and be in the classroom?
You know, I really didn't go to college to be a teacher. I went to college, I thought I'd be in the medical profession.
Oh, really?
And that's what I really wanted to do.
As a doctor? Or
Really,
something different?
I wasn't quite sure at the time. I probably was leaning more toward physical therapy.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up in the College of Health and Physical Education, because I had to get into that college at the university because I could get my required anatomy and kinesiology and physiology courses to get into medical school, with physical therapy school. And with that, I had to also do student teaching. And I did my student teaching because I had to. And I came to Reading. And I came to Thomas Ford Elementary School and Southwest. And I remember at Penn State at the time, some of the schools in Reading weren't, you know, they encouraged you to stay away from them. You know, Southwest and Thomas Ford were two of the schools they encouraged you at the time to stay away from. Well, I got placed at both of them, and I loved every minute of it.
Really?
And I can remember my last day walking out the back door at Thomas Ford, and it was a Friday afternoon. They didn't let me go at noontime because I was going back up to Penn State for the rest of my semester. And I remember walking out the door, and I was like crying, and I thought, this is fun. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was fun, and I felt I had such a good time with the kids, and I enjoyed that environment. Well, I went back to Penn State, and within a couple of weeks after student teaching, with the placement system, I was offered 4 jobs, and I took the job in Reading. And I never regretted it. I turned down, I was going into the military. I was going to go into the Air Force, and I was going to go through their military school and to pay for my schooling, because that was the program I was going into. So I was accepted, but I turned that down, and got away from anything related to medicine and stayed in teaching. And I really thought someday I'd end up, because I liked health, that I'd end up as a college professor teaching health and physical education. Well, after teaching, and then some folks encouraging me, like Mr. O'Bara and Bill Manderbach, who was my principal. And you know, your family may have had him at Lauer's Park. Bill Manderbach, a great man. He and Vince O'Bara said, you know, why don't you go back to school and after you get your master's and get your principalship? And I thought, why would I want to be a principal? And they encouraged me, and somehow along the line I got hired, and 33 years later I'm still at Lauer's Park.
What was it about Reading that made you want to come back? So after you did that student teaching and you had these opportunities.
Yeah, because they were all over the state. There were 4 different ones. I felt good about the experience I had at Thomas Ford, and real good about the Southwest. It felt good about being with the kids. And you have to understand, I came from the coal regions. And so when I went to school there were no minorities. You know, I went to Penn State, so there were quite a few, but I wasn't raised in the environment that I was teaching in. But it was just that the kids were so genuine. You know, with me, I've always been a hugger. So from the time I was a student teacher, the kids would always hug me. And the moms and dads would always be nice to me. And that was just part of who I was, and it felt like this is why I'm here. You know, because I think everybody has to have a purpose. You know, and it's not always about making money. It's about what's the right thing and what feels good. And this just felt, you know, like almost like my path was laid out for me. This is where this is what I'm supposed to do, and I might be poor for a long time, but it's the right thing to do for kids and families and for me. And so, you know, you just got so much satisfaction out of it, you know, and I guess so much love.
Absolutely.
Because you can't buy love.
Great. We're going to take a quick break and then come back, and we'll talk a little bit about Lauer's Park and all the innovative things that Mr. Hoodak is doing there.